Week 7, we've got quarterbacks, tight ends, and DST. So before Sunday, let's break down these updated rankings for Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season. Welcome to E&M Fantasy Football, where I combine industry-leading data, Vegas sportsbooks, and expert analysis to provide you with optimal weekly rankings for the utmost accuracy when setting your weekly lineups in your fantasy football league. I'm writing this on Thursday night for Friday's video. Expect more videos every week for the other unit groupings like wide receiver and running back, and click the playlist in the top right for all the updated rankings for Week 7. We begin with quarterbacks. This week has a lot of discrepancy between tiers. In terms of yardage gaps, pay close attention to the over-under totals in the separation. For the S tier, sportsbooks have these quarterbacks projected to go over 260 total yards. They are Jaden Daniels, 295 total versus Carolina, the second best scoring offense facing off against arguably the worst total defense. Good Lord. 51.5 scoring total and 8-point favorites. Lamar Jackson, 279 total at Tampa Bay, 3-point favorites with a 50-point scoring total. Kirk Cousins, 271 over-under versus Seattle. Geno Smith, 263 total versus Atlanta in the back-to-back. 51 total for Seattle at Atlanta. Atlanta by 3. Joe Burrow, 260 total versus Cleveland. 6-point favorites against arguably the worst team in the NFL. And the last guy in the tier, Baker Mayfield, 258 total. We're going to include him in the 260 versus Baltimore on the other side of the boat race. They're the worst secondary. Vegas tells us these top 6 guys are in the best position to go over 260 total yards with their arms and their legs in excellent matchups with high scoring totals. In a full PPR fantasy football format, they are your undisputed S tier for Week 7. A tier is for the rest of the elite quarterbacks, projected for about 250 total yards. Kyler Murray at 7. 240 total yards per game, in spite of the Chargers being 8th best pass defense, only allowing 192 yards per game. 4 out of 5 of those quarterbacks were Bo Nix, Justin Fields, Bryce Young, and Gardner Minshew. So, total isn't great at 43, but Kyler's upside and close 2-point spread allows him to settle in at the 7th spot this week. He should be totally fine. He's way better than all those guys that we just mentioned. CJ Stroud at 8. 253 total for CJ. 263 passing yards per game for CJ. And it's slated for a nice total at 48 points. And a close game with Green Bay. They allow every single quarterback that they face this season to go over against them, so lock in CJ Stroud, like you were going to do before I told you this little spiel. I'm going to go with his opponent on the other side of the ball at 9. Jordan Love, 252 total for Jordan. Love has averaged a stellar 283 passing yards per game on the season, and they are favored by 2 in this one, in spite of the Texans only allowing one quarterback to go over against them all season. Houston boasts the 4th best passing defense. I don't know. Should be a hell of a game. Jalen Hurts at 10. 253 total for Jalen. He has averaged 279 total yards per game. But we'd be lying if we didn't say the Philly offense has been, in real life at least, concerning, and bringing those concerns to fantasy. It's worth noting that as well, that only Geno Smith was able to go over 280 yards against the Giants defense, while Burrow, Prescott, Jaden Daniels, and Sam Darnold were all held to less than 220 yards. So Hurts is going to have his work cut out for him. But at the end of the day, Cam Newton 2.0 and Saquon, Brown, Smith, all of them are healthy. So don't be scared. And we'll go back-to-back with opposing quarterbacks in the second highest scoring game of the week, set at 50 points in Sam Darnold at 11 and Jared Goff at 12. Detroit and Minnesota, both have bottom 6 pass defenses, among the worst in the league. We know the Lions are going to pound the rock regardless of the Vikings' scary number 2 best run D. We should see a lot of air yards in this one, considering Detroit is also no slouch against the run either, boasting the 3rd best run defense themselves. So we should see a lot of Jefferson, Addison, St. Brown, and J-Mo. Brock Purdy at 13. Brock has averaged 271 passing yards per game. However, the only high-paced Bengals and Ravens offense were able to go over against the Chiefs this season, where Carr, Herbert, Cousins were all held under. Overall, they are below average against the pass. Purdy and co. are favorites, albeit by 1 point. The total's good at 47. Don't be scared. And for the last elite quarterback, ErvinandM.com. ErvinandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description, find something you love, and buy it today. Back to the video. Support me, support you. Shop something from my store at me down below, and I'll get you an exclusive discount before you check out. Straight up. It's live. Live chat, baby. You know what I'm saying? Straight to my phone. From here, you have concerns. It's the B tier. I have concerns. We're only at 14. It's the last chance for starts that you're happy about. Sportsbooks have these quarterbacks projected for 230 to 240 passing yards this week. Starting off with Patrick Mahomes. 240 total is his line. Brock's opponent in San Fran, Patty LaVon and the Chieftains, are the underdogs in this one. Patty Mahomes has averaged 247 passing yards per game in spite of all the setbacks and lack of passing, comparatively. That being said, though, the Niners are league average against the pass, and Mahomes is Mahomes. And him and Kelsey should be fine in a close game. Josh Allen at 15. 235 over-under for Josh. You can see everything start to slip here. 193 passing and 30 rushing yards per game for Josh Allen. Help, however, is en route by way of Cleveland and former first-round pick Amari Cooper. To make matters worse, though, he's facing the Titans secondary, who have denied every single quarterback more than 200 passing yards per game this season. But Josh Allen is still Josh Allen, just like Patty Mahomes is still Patty Mahomes, and he'll be easily the best quarterback that the Titans have faced. The Bills are nearly 10-point favorites in this one, so don't be scared. And Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if he gets the nickname Touchdown Jesus anymore. 237 over-under. Only 222 passing yards per game for Trevor this season. Only 1 passing touchdown per game for Trevor. And he's only won over twice. And those were his most 2 recent games, so that's a plus. Ingram is back, which is another huge crutch for him, another plus. And, Drake May or not, the Patriots who they face are the shell of them former selves, boasting the 24th worst pass D, so he should be okay. But I'd still take the under on his passing yards this week. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones at 17, 241 passing for Daniel Jones. 223 passing per game, 27 rushing per game. If you remember Josh Allen's stats, Daniel Jones has outperformed him and averaged higher total yards in every category. So, a little perspective for you. He gets Neighbors back. Tyrone Tracy's looked incredible, and Philly has a bad pass defense coming in at 21. So, Danny Dimes should be okay. Andy Dalton on the losing side of the highest scoring game of the week. Oh boy. He's only averaged 180 passing yards per game, which is disappointing, to say the least. Good offenses go over against the Commanders, while bad ones go under. So it's safe to say that in spite of Deontay Johnson and Chuba Hubbard's fantasy performances, taking the under on Dalton's 242 yard line is a safe bet. No pun intended. An AR-15. Anthony Richardson. Anthony. What do we do with you, bro? 163 passing and 35 rushing yards per game in his 4-game sample. Less than 1 passing touchdown per game. And to make matters worse, the Dolphins' defense has been pretty good. 3rd best against the pass. They've been really good. He has the upside. I mean, we saw it in week 1, but it's just been nothing but disappointment since then. Matt Stafford at 20. He's coming off the bye. His over-under set at 230 yards. He's averaged 247 yards per game in spite of all the setbacks his poor offense has faced this season. He gets Cooper Kupp back. The Raiders have the 7th best pass defense, though, but they've also faced some questionable quarterback talent. So Stafford should be fine. I mean, they're 7-point favorites in this one, so no worries. And Drake May at 21. 229 over-under for Drake May. I mean, we only have 1 game of data. It was a 281 total yard game against a top 5 defense, so it's nothing to scoff at exactly, but normally I'd say the chances of him repeating this performance are slim, but he gets one of the most trouble offenses in the league and the worst, dead last, pass defense in the league, the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. So, go off, son. From here, though, it's desperation. These quarterbacks are slated for 210 yards. If you're starting anyone here, talk to me in the comments. Bo Nix at 22. 221 over-under for Bo Nix. 180 passing yards and 30 rushing yards per game for Bo. So the Saints have allowed every quarterback to go over, not named Bryce Young, but I don't know how excited you can be for him to bust his 221, total. And that definitely doesn't help you win your Week 7 matchup, but it could definitely be worse. We have 3 more before we enter the straight-up janitor closet. Aaron Rodgers at 23. GM Rodgers, owner of the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, A-Rod, 227 over-under this week. He has managed 231 passing yards per game, and everyone knows he's getting Devontae back. Maybe this week. But the bad news for Rodgers is that the Steelers are the 13th best pass defense, and they have held all but 2 quarterbacks to 220 yards or less. So it's 50-50 if he hits his line. But he is Aaron Rodgers, so there's always a chance that he converts a 65-yard Hail Mary for some bonus points. Deshaun Watson at 24. Good Lord. 214 over-under for Deshaun. Only 170 passing yards and 24 rushing yards per game for the $230 million man. Can you believe it? I mean, it's unimaginable, truly. As if it's needed to be worse. Cooper's gone, leaving Njoku and Nick Chubb, who isn't even officially back yet from his horrifying, traumatic knee injury from last year. They're the only good things left in the offense. Cleveland has an implied team total of only 18 points in this one. Not good. And Aiden O'Connell at 25. I mean, there's literally nothing to break down for this except that his mustache is worse than Gardner's. If you don't believe me, look at that dusty thing. Ugh. Poor Raiders. Which brings us to the RIP tier. For these guys, it's less than 200 yards. From here, I mean, it's unstartable. Spencer Rattler. Justin Herbert. Mayo Boy. Tyler Huntley. Visit my store. And Justin Fields / Russell Wilson. That is your top quarterbacks. Let's do the tight ends. We have 4 S tier tight ends this week. They are Travis Kelce, the tight end king, has returned. Brock Bowers, 58 over under. Travis has a 61 over under. Trey McBride, 57 over under. And George Kittle, 52 over under. These top 4 tight ends are all projected to be in the best position by Vegas Sportsbooks to go over 50 receiving yards this week. That is the highest amount for week 7. They are your elite S-tier tight ends, undisputed. The next tier is for the rest of the tight end ones, projected for about 40 to 50 yards. Any of these guys could finish top 5. They just have lower floors than the guys above. Evan Ingram. Oh boy. Shades of yesteryear. Ingram returns 10 for 10 with 102 receiving yards and no touchdowns, of course. Typical. He's not going to do this every game, but he puts Brian Thomas in serious danger of losing his number 1 status for the receiving core. Ingram just needed to get healthy, and it appears that he is. Struggling offense or not, lock in Evan Ingram. And David Njoku, bless his heart, 42 over under for David. He's the last receiving threat left on the team. He's almost 100% healthy. I mean, the Bengals have allowed every single tight end this season, not named Travis Kelce from week 2, to go over against them this season. I mean, he should get his 42 yards, no problem. Ingram-esque games are incoming for David Njoku. Certainly pray to the tight end gods that this happens. Sam Laporta at 7. 40 over under for Sam Laporta. He's averaged that line almost exactly at 39.8 receiving yards per game. He's in great shape this week versus the Vikings' terrible pass defense, allowing every single tight end not named Dalton Schultz to go over against them. He should be fine. He should go crazy. Kyle Pitts at 8. 40 over under for Kyle Pitts. 43 yards per game, but 79 yards in each of his last 2 contests. The Hawks have allowed every good tight end to go over against them this season. Pitts should be able to get it done as well. 5 targets and 13 yards per reception is pretty good. And at 9, Tucker Kraft. 39 over under. I mean, look, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. The cards are still out on his status for the week. However, the People's Champ has averaged 39 yards per game. He should make his line if he plays. The Texans' pass defense is pretty good, but if Hunter Henry and Cole Kmet can go over, Kraft is talented enough to do the same. And the Packers' offense, for that matter. B tier. This tier has tight ends going for about 30 yards. They are the last viable options, and there's only 5. Starting with Zach Ertz at 10. 33 over under for Zach. 38 yards per game is pretty good for a tight end, and he gets a sweet matchup against one of the worst defenses this season, Carolina. Every tight end facing the Panthers have went over, and Zach Ertz should probably do the same. K-Dot at 11. 27 receiving yards per game isn't that impressive, but when facing less than average pass defenses, he's went for 44, 47, and 52 yards. The Ravens certainly qualify as that, as they have allowed every single tight end they've faced this season to do just that. And while arguably having one of the best offenses, they sport the 31st worst passing defense. He should be fine. Dalton Kincaid at 12. 35 over under for Dalton. He's got a questionable tag. 36 yards per game for Kincaid. He hasn't turned out to be the target monster, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride type that the Bills had hoped for, that they drafted him for. And unfortunately, the arrival of Amari Cooper only stands to drop him further down Josh Allen's looks and pass attempts per play. You could do worse, though. Number 10 is still, pretty good. Mark Andrews at 13. 32 over-under for Mark. He's not far off his receiving average at 31 yards per game, but it's a coin toss as coin toss gets. Literally either 55, 66, or 51 yards, or the complete opposite, 0, 14, or 0 yards. So we'll give him the 51% edge for the over. However, since Tampa's defense is the 28th worst against the pass. Good luck. Dalton Schultz at 14. It's a 35 over-under for Dalton. Only 23 yards per game for Dalton, even in Nico's absence. He only netted 7 more yards per contest, so an extra reception for the Lions' share. You could definitely do worse, though. The Packers are 50-50 on tight ends going over. He'll either get 15 yards or 52. And welcome to the cliff. It's the C tier. It's the 20s. These guys are projected for about 20 to 30 receiving yards. There's so much uncertainty here. These guys have, okay 9-foot ceilings, but basement level floors. Hunter Henry at 15. 29 over-under. Nearly 37 yards per game for Henry. He should improve with May, but 4 receptions instead of 3 receptions isn't going to be the difference of turning him into an elite option. He has talent, and we've seen it. The Jags are an excellent matchup, but we just need to see more across the board to be excited and raise him any higher than this. Colby Parkinson at 16. 30 over-under for Colby. 33 receiving yards per game for Colby. I mean, he's been fairly consistent as well. However, the return of Cooper Kupp will almost certainly drop his 4 receptions a game to 3 receptions. I mean, you can still do worse, though. The Rams tend to get into shootouts since their total defense is not great. Noah Fant at 17. 27 over-under for Noah. He has Geno Smith throwing him the ball, but they spread that thing around like Will Levis spreads around his mayo. They get Atlanta, who has one of the best secondaries, so. Isaiah Likely at 18. 25 over-under for Likely. 2 games with 60 yards, 4 games for less than 20. Couple that rate with the same 33% over rate for tight ends against the Bucs, and you have a pretty unlikely, no pun intended, chance of him going over. Pat Freiermuth at 19. 27 over-under. Same story for Pat. 50% over, 50% under. And the same goes for the Jets, allowing 3 out of 6 tight ends to hit their mark. Pittsburgh is going through it at quarterback too, neither of which elevate Pat, and to make matters worse, they're only slated for 18 implied points. So this will be the most disgusting game of the week, for sure. And at 20, Juwan Johnson. With Olave and Shaheed missing effectively their best 2 weapons, not named Alvin Kamara, Juwan has saw more than a 50% rise in volume and production. But at the end of the day, 4 receptions, while better than 1 on average, not making a difference in your fantasy team. But these other guys, the rest, they're unstartable. Tyler Conklin, Grant Calcaterra, Mike Gesicki, Theo Johnson, Jonnu Smith. I mean, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyone and everyone else, it's a war zone, I know. I'll put your DST rankings on the screen now for all the sickos out there. Look it over. Leave your questions and concerns down below. And I'll put your quarterbacks and tight ends back on screen as well. I may add kickers if you're into that sort of thing. If you ask for it, I'll consider it. And sincerely, I hope this helps everyone watching. Thank you for your time, and if you want to support the channel so I can keep making these videos, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can see all the videos each week before submitting your lineups. It's free, so it's a good value. And if you want to support me, check out my store, www.ervinandm.com. I have 2 passions, fantasy football and small business. We're a 2-man show at E&M, and we take pride in the quality and craftsmanship of our products. There's no better way to support me than by buying a gift or something special for yourself. Everything is handcrafted from limited stock here in North Carolina by us, by me and my partner. We do everything ourselves. We ship anywhere in the US. Don't forget to use the promo code in the description. Thanks again if you're still with me. That's the video. Watch some more videos.